Hello, welcome everyone. We are going to start with today's event. I introduce myself very briefly for those who still don't know, although there are some familiar faces. My name is Shortino. I am the founder and director of Junction. And Junction is the place you see here. Normally it's a reading room. You can come and read about Southeast Asia, and then we have different kinds of events related to Southeast Asia. Yesterday was about women protection in the context of ASEAN, and today is about social protection of informal workers, again in the context of ASEAN. Now these two events were supposed to be done in combination with the ASEAN People Forum, which was supposed to find place nearby here in Hotel Berkeley, but unfortunately, due to some tension with the Thai government, was moved to Ransit. And this has complicated a little bit the holding of these events, including today, unfortunately, Kun Sundari, who is the main organizer of the ASEAN People Forum, couldn't come here because she has to come all the way from Ransit, and she needs to be there as the main organizer until the end. But luckily we have a substitute from Omnet Southeast Asia who will take her place. So without further ado, this is a collaboration with Omnet Southeast Asia, and Omnet Southeast Asia is basically the main organization working with informal workers in Southeast Asia. They have a Thai chapter, Omnet Thailand, I think is quite strong, but they also liaison with organization in other parts of Southeast Asia. And today we will have some of the members. So first I call Omnet Southeast Asia. And maybe you want to introduce briefly yourself. Yes.
So good evening to everyone. My name is Rosalinda Pineda of Reneo. I come from the Philippines. I was the regional coordinator of Homeland Southeast Asia for 9 years when it was based in Manila. Before Sundari took over when the secretariat was transferred to Bangkok. As Leah explained, we are a network of membership-based organizations. We have Homeland Thailand, as she explained, but we also have Homeland Philippines. We have representatives here. We have Homeland Indonesia. We have Homeland Cambodia, and we have a new emerging group from Vietnam. It's called MNet, Migration. A network for migrant action, because most of the migrants in Vietnam are also informal workers. So we have a little pamphlet that we have distributed to everyone. That session today will focus on universal health care, which is a very important component of social protection. ASEAN has a very progressive declaration on social protection, which fortunately was influenced by civil society groups. So it has all the nice words that it has to be gender responsive, it has to be participatory, it has to be rights-based, all that. And in the ASEAN Program of Action on Social Protection, there is a provision for the acceleration of the institution of universal health care in all the countries, in all the member states of ASEAN. So now we're trying to complement that or support that through a push from below. And we are going to explain what principles we go by that are also in the ASEAN Declaration that we want to interpret them from the perspective of informal workers. So the principles that can be, okay. First is universalism, that all human beings should be covered, including informal workers, whether they are citizens or not. So this is very important for migrant workers because you have, plenty moving across ASEAN borders, and they are not able to access healthcare in particular and social protection in general when they travel from the host countries to the receiving countries. And equity in standards, so everyone, according to the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, if health is a human right, then everyone is entitled to the highest level, highest standard of health. And so, whether you are informal or formal, rich or poor, man or woman, indigenous people, or the main group in that country, you need the same level of health care. And the state, as the principal duty bearer in the human rights discourse, has to support the provision of that right through public financing, meaning the state must be able to provide subsidies, must have tax-based schemes to raise funds so that everyone can have the health care that each one deserves. Okay. Now, comprehensive and equitable benefit packages should not be gender biased. So therefore, if we also need to respond to the needs of women, there must be an emphasis too on sexual and reproductive health, particularly maternal health. And for informal workers, we need occupational safety and health provisions. And we do not need to be always at the curative end of the line, and usually it is too late and too expensive. There should be more focus on preventive and promotive health. And all diseases and treatments, for example, for the chronic illnesses like cancer, which is so prevalent, or diabetes, which is like an epidemic in my country, they should be covered by health provisions, right? Health budget. And this is very important for people to participate in the governance structure, because if we do not speak out and assert our demands, and government does not hear our complaints, our needs, then the current systems might not be responsive at all to the people's interests. So we are now talking about healthcare, which is already a law. Universal healthcare is already a law in Thailand and in the Philippines. And yet the title of this forum is the Mirage of Universal Healthcare. So why is it a mirage? Why is it some kind of an illusion, even if there is a law? Because we need to look at the implementation side. And I think the Thai people have already articulated some of the barriers and problems that confront informal workers in particular in accessing health care. And the Philippines too will be next in line in terms of discussion, because our law was passed only in February this year. So we need to know how to follow through. And in Cambodia, there is a promise that by 2020, whatever, there's a certain time frame, the Cambodian people will have universal health care, and so on down the line. So I think Homeland Southeast Asia has prepared a lineup of resource persons who will give a short presentation, and hopefully after that we can have a lively exchange. So I will I'll give the mic back to Leah. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much. And I think it's very important to reflect on this principle as we listen to the country presentation, because we will see that many of the model of national insurance that are currently being implemented do not reflect this principle, that maybe Thailand is the exception, is the closest in terms of covering informal sector. But Indonesia, for instance, if it is informal sector, you have to pay, while the government only pay and target the poor. So the targeted system may not reflect all these universal principles. Again, the Philippines may be very different. It may cover some basic costs, but not all kind of disease. So when we talk about country having universal health care, may not mean that they really have it. This is why the title was indeed marriage. But without further ado, let's go to the Philippines first. Who is the Filipino? Because there are many Filipino in the room, so I don't know who is going to represent.
Just mo sarili mo.
Please.
Okay. Good. I think it's good evening already. Yeah. I am Josephine, but just call me Olive Parilla. I am a home-based worker back in the Philippines. I was in part of the EXICOM of the Homeland Southeast Asia 3 years ago. So with our regional coordinator, I'll be presenting. Actually, who among you attended the Asian People's Forum? So, probably some are too familiar for you already. So again, as our Philippine delegates leader, Dr. Ferneo, has been asking, yes, there's already a law in most countries, but what is it there that we need really to discover, really we need to reflect on its implementation. Is it just for compliance, or is it beyond compliance? So next slide, please. Okay, I just want to share some notes of one of our great senator back then in the Philippines said, though we give cards to every Filipino, it is still useless if no facility for that matter. Then second, probably many hospitals will be erected with nice one, or but if there are no doctors and other health professionals who will stop and run them, so we're just having a building as if for white elephants. Next slide. Yes, it is probably modern, but if the sick cannot avail of this program, which as we have said must promotive and preventive, then we fail to address the root causes of the health issue. Although we have a lot of professionals, but the drugs are expensive, then still there still can run some medication. And lastly, though we built a network hospital, but it did not constantly infuse with funds, then how about the functionality of this hospital? Actually, there are many issues in the Philippines where some provinces has the structure, but no people, and even the operation is failed to render to the people. So that is our famous senator. So, reality check, well, of course, as what we said, it's always absence of facilities, high cost of medicine, and then 40 to 60% are out-of-pocket expenses. Of course, expenditure, 3.5% of the product. Actually, we're way below from our neighboring country. Infant mortality rate is 35 from 1,000 live birth, and maternity rate is 100,000 live birth. Okay. So health inequality is part in access and outcomes. So this is affordability and of course accessibility. And some parts in our place, especially in Mindanao and very flung areas, doesn't have really a good and effective operation in our health centers. So see, in every position, 10,000. Actually, we don't have data here, but next slide, click. Philippines as to the PRC, Professional Regulatory Body, and next table. Okay, at the rural areas, there are as per DOH, there are only few. Next slide. So, see, this is what we are telling a while ago, that out of, you only have a few, and that is a global scenario. Next slide. Of course, as what mentioned by Dr. Peneo, just recently we passed the UHC, Universal Healthcare Law, and then just recently the implementing rules and regulation has been done, and actually we're part of discussing the implementing rules and regulation. So as we said, health is a basic human rights, and of course in our constitution, very clear said that shall protect and promote the right to health of the people and instill health consciousness among them. Again, another provision, the state shall endeavor to provide free medical care to the less fortunate. Okay, next slide. So again, it is also stipulated in our Magna Carta of Women of the provision of comprehensive health care services. So this is, I will show you some provision or the feature of universal health care. The coverage, of course, it aimed that every Filipino shall be granted immediate eligibility, preventive and promotive. But however, for the first 3 to 6 years of the universal health care, it will only focus to 31 pilot sites. Because, of course, we have to test first the implementation, and probably if there's what would be the effect of its implementation, somehow the Philippine government can review and assess on its implementation. So, like what we say in the telenovela in a television, it will not just not just like in a movie that you have to see it for 2 hours, but the effect, probably the implementation of our health program will somehow will go for 3 to 6 years. So these are the features. We have regulation, of course, mandating transparent pricing, co-regulating private health insurance, ensure benefit complementation, requiring return service for all health and allied health professionals, health workforce, support system, and regulation of medical specialists. However, this is the state of our human resources 70 of health workers are employed in the private. Because, of course, the salary is less than the private. 30% employed in government service. And then, of course, we do provide incentives, expansion, require service condition, especially those who undergo under scholarship program. So you are entitled, you are mandated, not really entitled, but you're mandated to do service because you're a scholar in the Philippine government. Okay. So these are actually the requirements for our health practitioners that the Philippines wants to have. And on governance, so there's required submission of health financial data. Then we'll be using electronic health record as part of contracting obligation. And then we're institutionalizing health technology assessment. And we do also have a health impact assessment for policies and program. And of course, we set a board. People is going to run the health program. Before the UHC passed, there are 17 board of director who's sitting for policies and implementation. And in fact, one of those board of directors is an informal workers. But the passage of this new law, we don't have the representation of the basic sector, specifically the informal workers, was done. And all of them are those in the private practitioners. So this one, nuclear provision, and of course, nuclear provision for participatory governance. In other words, there was no more participatory or a consultative body that will hear the issue of the marginal sector. So service delivery, of course, foremost institutionalizing primary care as a prerequisite to access higher level of care. So every individual should have a primary care provider. You should enroll. You must be part of your database. And then consolidating fragmented providers to network, practicing gatekeeping and referral, and enabling income retention for all public providers. Next. But emphasizing the primary care, the Department of Health and the local government units shall together provide a healthcare delivery system that somehow every Filipino can afford or is accessing. And the care provider would act as the navigator, coordinator, and initial contact point of contact in healthcare delivery services. So, as what I mentioned. But despite significant increases in financing, these are the bottlenecks of our UHC. Weak leverage, of course, the out-of-pockets, limited recognition, next slide. Then government really simply subsidized. So, and again, highly unregulated, lack of clarity in rules and transparency in data because of the issue of fake and dubious claims, which somehow private practitioners are doing. Next. Highly regulated public and private healthcare market, lack of clarity in rules and transparency. Yeah, next slide. And our issue, of course, as to membership, because there are only two membership, the direct, which are going to pay, were mostly those with income, and the indirect contributors, where are the indigent, the Filipino senior person with disability, and even elected youth council. They are free of the premium. So, in 2019, there was an increase of 2.75%. Previously, it is 100, but now it's 275, the minimum. That's right. So, it is our, as HomeNet, Philippine position, that the 10,000 less of informal workers automatically be classified as indigent contributors or indirect contributors. And or the government to subsidize the premium, and then all registered employers and contractors who are employing home workers should also pay their health insurance. So, how can civil society? Of course, participation and representation, make allies next, and then to pass our Magna Carta work in the informal economy, localization of health agenda, and among others, VAUSI, Violence Against Women, Magna Carta, expanded Materna, exclusive and continued breastfeeding, and among others, and we should be accredited in all levels so that we can participate in the discussion and we can be represented in all levels. The biggest challenge for many Filipinos, especially the poor, including the workers and informal economy, getting sick is not an option. Every hour we have to spend in bed or in hospital, earning money for one's own family, oneself, of course. As what Dr. Orphan said, catastrophic illnesses continue to be a one-way ticket to poverty for many Filipinos. So it's JC Punubayan said that. So next slide. So some of our notes is from these writers, and of course during our May 1, 2019, it's also we have a position in paper. Last slide. Thank you and mabuhay.
Thank you. Thank you for this very comprehensive presentation. And we go now to Vietnam. Nguyen. Yes, please. Maybe you can tell about the situation in Vietnam. So when we talk about migrants, just to be sure, these are internal migrants we're talking about. They are considered migrants if they move from the rural to the city. Please.
Thank you. Hello everybody. Good morning, and I would like to be here a very beautiful space to talk you about information informal migrant worker in Vietnam. So in my present, we have four main content. The first, firstly, to introduce about myself. My name is Nguyễn Bích Ngọc, and now I'm coordinator of MNET, Action Migrant Action MNET. MNET is an action network for migrant workers in Vietnam, and we established in October 2014 with support from Oxfam Vietnam and launched in December 2015. Currently, MNET has 7 members, and they are non-government organizations, non-government organizations, and non-profit organizations in Vietnam. So there are many times to work with migrants in Vietnam. And who are the migrants in Vietnam? They are informal and they are formal workers. Informal workers in Vietnam, they are street vendors, they are motorbike drivers, they are domestic workers, and also they are work in factory in company. So this is the MS territory on social protection for information workers. By 2020, labor rights of migrant workers are protected and fulfilled through a better management mechanisms. Association for migrant workers are acknowledged. Migrants' issues are displayed in legal framework. Migrant workers have better to access to social protection, especially informal migrant workers. They are better job skills to improve their job opportunities. So this is an overview of domestic migrant worker in Vietnam. So simply the developed country in the Asia, the ground of migrant worker in Vietnam is very high. So number of domestic migrants increased from 1.3 million people in 1989 to 2 million in 1919 and 3.4 million in 20 years. From the document of Ministry of Labor Economics and Social Affairs in Vietnam. So, excuse me. So you can see in 2016, the number of migrants in Vietnam is 12.6 million. But forecast by monitor in 2019 is 5 million, very high. Informal migrant worker in Vietnam, informal migrant worker and social protection in Vietnam. So in fact, informal migrant worker in accessibility to social protection service. So 19% of migrants hardly access to social protection service and public policy in destination area. And all of them informal workers do not have social insurance. Nearly 19% formal workers do not have a health insurance and insurance at arrival around. And 71% informal workers cannot access public health service, and children of migrant workers cannot access public schools. So actually, migrant workers have to pay higher costs for living space like clean water, electric, or other costs. So quality of life and rights of migrants are negatively affected, particularly women. 80% of migrants have their children in destination with no policy on health and education for migrant parents. So from beginning, AMET collaborate with Vietnam government, and this is the Vietnam government's strategy on universal social protection. There are two main indicators. So firstly, on social insurance of informal workers by 2021, 1% to by 2030 is 5%. And the second indicator on health insurance by 2019 is 88, 1%. So the indicator the second indicator on health insurance we finished and they have 18 5%. So because in Vietnam in the few years they have Vietnam government have a policy for health insurance for all. So they have many activity to take that, and this indicator is to finish and very high and in a few years. So I think it's two more, it's higher. So sorry. And Borisa is the request for informal workers. This is 3 points. Provide information on lacking social protection of informal workers, recommendation on budget allocation of social protection, and social protection communication for informal workers. So, and what can MNET do? So in the term, MNET can do with cooperate with Borisa and Vietnam government also and they work like neat and fit. And this is Morida Neat Government, Vietnam government list, and this is NMAC handle. Okay? Firstly, Morida Neat provide evidence on lacking social protection in informal worker. They are the Vietnam government plan. So, this is NMAC handle. We collecting evidence based on reality on accessibility of migrant workers to social protection like evidence. So, actually, Morina is the combination of budget allocation of social protection and then analyze budget structure and use the gas support from migrant workers on buying social protection. And Hemnet have a process to have a pilot model to migrant worker can they to take part in the building the health budget in the province. So we have a pilot model. And finally, about social protection communication for informal worker, and that capacity building for self-help group of migrant worker. Now we have about 100 self-help group, and we work with 7 members of NMAC. Yes. And by the time, NMAC have many experience to work with migrant worker and work with government to work to assess the social protection for migrant worker. So I think this is a POP model. You know POP pizza? So we have government, donor, beneficiary, and CSO, and we are work to planning and work to building a strategy in order to help the process is higher and is faster. So thank you. Thank you to listening.
Thank you very much. And we go now to Indonesia. Aida, thank you. So Aida is from a network of domestic workers. Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening to everyone. Thank you, Julia, from Junction, and also thank you, friends from HomeNet, that make us worthwhile to participate in Asian Secret Society Forum. I'm here with my colleague, Ibu Dia Rafikan is our team in designing the presentation. Ibu Dia, please stand up. Yes, Ibu Dia from Indonesia. And also our colleague from Indonesia here, Ibu Buun and Ibu Titin Bustini. I would like to present the information about Social Security for domestic workers. We are from Rumpun Association and also Ibu Dia from Rumpun Gemar Perempuan. Rumpun Association is an umbrella, but we also part of the member of Jala PRT. That's the national network for the advocacy for domestic workers. Very massive organization in 7 cities in Indonesia and have about 50 members. Jala PRT recently only the last 2 months have finished the research about the social protection of domestic workers. So this is really update information about this issue. Yeah. We know that Indonesia have responsibility to cover the healthcare for the citizens because it's part of the advocacy of civil society for years. It's been a long time, and the government finally fulfill the demand of the people of Indonesia, that they have responsibility to cover for the health, to health and also the employment insurance for workers. It is stated in Constitution and also the law, and also concerning the National Social Security System, Law number 39, 1999, and also Human Rights, International Covenant and Economic Rights, and this has been ratified by Law number 12, 2005. That's the legal base Indonesia have, why the government of Indonesia has responsibility to fulfill the health care for the citizens. Because the National Social Security System is a procedure for the implementation of Social Security program by several administrative agencies in Law number 4, 2004. We call it the Undang-Undang BPJS. We are a law of social protection, health protection, and social insurance is the compulsory fundraising mechanism from contribution to provide protection for social economic risks that affect participants and our family members is one of the provisions of the law number 4. The law number 4 in 2004 that the risk affected by participants and all family members registered in the institution of BPJS. We call it BPJS. It's an institution who govern the mechanisms and the implementation of health care for the people, for Indonesian people. One of the provisions mentioned about the assistance contribution. Assistance contribution means that contribution assistance is a contribution paid by the government for the poor and underprivileged. And we assume that domestic workers is part of this coverage as the participant of Social Security program and underprivileged including domestic workers. But the fact they are not covered yet until now, and we still trying to say to government, say to the manpower, and then say to BPJS, the agency, to the agency who implement the health protection for the people of Indonesia. But they still have a long way of process because they don't want to recognize domestic workers as part of the beneficiaries of this provision of this undang-undang law. Yeah. Now, I would like to tell you, we would like to tell you the situation of domestic workers in Indonesia. In 2011, 2018, Jala PRT, our network, national network, estimates that there are approximately 4,020,000 domestic workers in Indonesia. 20% of those are child domestic labor. They are still exist in houses. Domestic worker is considered as low job, level job, and not considered as worker. They are considered as informal, but not recognized as the worker. They face the vulnerability to discriminatory treatment and various forms of violence. Many violence occur from the physical, mental, emotional, economical, and so on. It's variety from many kinds of violence, from beating, beaten, ditendang, kick, and also causing to permanent injuries, death, and many things. Yeah, many bad things happen to them. But still, we have done advocacy for the law for the protection of domestic workers for 15 years. But the member of parliament do not want to hear us because they are afraid if we have the law, they also have impacted because many of the member of parliament have 5 to 6 domestic workers at home, and they are reluctant to pay the minimum wage, the provincial minimum wage. So that is why they afraid to pass the law. So this is a long way process of the advocacy. And domestic worker living in a closed door and far from scrutiny, we don't know what happened with them. We don't know because sometimes domestic workers are locked from outside of the house. If the employer of domestic workers go out, so because some of them trying to go out, trying to escape from the house of the abusive situation. And they got low payment and no social security. Can we see the research letter? This is the product, yeah. Oh, even though the government, by the president of Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, the previous president, have attended the ILO government body and promised to ratify the decent work for domestic workers, but it's not happened until now. They don't want to ratify ratify into the law of Indonesia. That's the problem. And the government reluctant to side with domestic workers, and this is make the domestic workers depend to their employers, to the kindness of the employer. And regulation, we have regulation of Ministry of Manpower, number 2/2015. It only implicitly regulates the employment relationship between employers and domestic workers, but not state protection. They instead explicitly sided with the agency of domestic workers, relating the work with the domestic worker and the employer. Yeah, this is the research done by Margarita Gastaldi. She is the volunteer in Jala PRT network, our network. When domestic worker asked who should pay for social security, 28% saying that government should pay for the social security for domestic workers, and 32.80% saying employer have to pay for the social security. Others saying that domestic workers should pay for the social security and so on, and some are saying, I don't have answer. And in reality, Dia is involved in the research in the community. Our community is South Tangerang City, where we have like 500 domestic workers organized, and they have union in that area. When we ask what the reality, who pays for your social, for your health care, the reality that the local government of South Tangerang City guarantee the social, the health protection. 45.21% health care covered by the government, because Irene is the mayor of the South Tangerang City, has commitment to cover all residents in the area with the requirement of the ID card. If you have ID card of South Tangerang City, then you can be free to if you want to get health care for local government. And 23.29% they say that government and employer pay for them. A collaboration between employer and government, and only 8% say that domestic workers pay for themselves, because some of them not resident in that area, so they have to pay for themselves. And this is another union of domestic workers we call Sapulidi. Sapulidi, the biggest 2 minutes. Yeah, the biggest organization. She's saying who pays for domestic worker social security, saying that government and employer, government and employer, and government employer and domestic worker. Next. Should we hurry? Yeah. And negotiation. They say 67% saying they are afraid to negotiate to get health care with the employer. Yeah. And 13% to 70% saying they get the insurance from the employer. Then next. For the employment security, 26% saying they negotiate with the employer, and they say they never negotiate, and it's not answer. Lanjut. What the employer responds? If they don't want to pay, this is the reason. Because domestic worker is not worker. They don't want to pay. There is no regulation in law. They don't want to pay, and they don't know the regulation, and saying that the jaminan ketenagakerjaan, employment insurance is very expensive. Lanjut. How if they get accident in house? Say that they never get accident, but 38% get the accident and pay berobat bayar sendiri, pay for themselves. If they get accident, they pay for themselves. Ditanggung majikan, employer pay for the health care. Yeah, so on. Lanjut. For maternity right, this is the last slide. Who pays for you to give birth? They say they pay for themselves. Women domestic workers say 70% of them say they pay for themselves. They get the government insurance covered by the government, and they got the government insurance from BPJS from the institution, and majikan employer pay for the cost, and they say I have no answer. Yeah, that's all, and thank you very much for listening and for your question. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you very much. This is very interesting and indeed new data. I think if you are aware with the Indonesian system, there are 3 categories of payment. One for the poor, paid by the government. One for the employers, paid by the employer. The one that have a formal job, and the one in between who don't have a formal job, then they have to pay themselves the fee. So there are 3 types of fee payment. The fee is the same, but it's paid by different parties according to the category. So in this case, the domestic workers, they are not very poor, they are above the poverty line, because the government used a very low poverty line, but they are still not capable of paying the fee for, so they fall in between. So, okay, I open the floor for the first round of comments or questions, 2 or 3. Yes, please come to the front. The speaker, you can come to the front. From Vietnam, please. Yeah. Okay, you have any question or comments for our friends? Don't be shy. It was a very interesting presentation.
Everything is clear.
Everything
Can be questions, can be comments, can be suggestion for the future, how to organize.
Everything is clear.
You, maybe? Yes, okay, please, from Cambodia, yes.
Still from Cambodia, I'm very interested. And what you have just said, it's really well of support. It's really well of the system. It's similar to Cambodia because for the poor, the government have provided the health income card, so they go to hospital and they are paid. And the employee working for private sector, the employer cover 100%. And for the official, the government official, the government pay for food. But now they start to study for informal worker why they cannot pay, medical health fee. So it's going to be on volunteer basis, whether they want to join the social security fund or not. And another research has been done has been conducted by the Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Economy and Finance. They already completed the study and the analysis, and I think they will present at least the preliminary finding soon. But the aim of the research is going to be to find out how much and how much the government can pay, so that they can have a health insurance. I think similar to Cambodia. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's the same, similar to Indonesia, mirip model Indonesia. Just sharing about the Cambodian case. Maybe I have a question.
Thank you for excellent presentation. I want to know, I have two questions. One is for actually for the, if I may, to ask about one of your principle is universalism. And one of it is for the state, for the government to provide basic social security for everybody, including a domestic worker from abroad. I want to know how could we realize it? How does Homeland create advocacy? Because, for example, countries like Indonesia, even the job of a domestic worker are not recognized as workers, and therefore it would be difficult to actually support even for migrant workers to receive social government support, because even the citizen does not cover it. So how we can do advocacy towards it, and what's home was actually endorsing it, because we know ASEAN have ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint, and they have this schemes and mechanism to support mobility, but only for white collars worker, specific for 8 types of jobs, and the migrant worker are not one of them. So yeah, I want to hear about it. And from the Philippines, I want to know how does your country manage to actually include domestic worker as part of the social security guarantee? What is the advocacy that your organization conduct to convince actually the protection of domestic workers? Because in Indonesia, it's still difficult as you explained. Thank you.
HomeNet has solidarity activities with domestic workers because we see ourselves as part of an informal workers movement that acts both regionally, regionally, and even globally, because domestic workers now have an international federation of domestic workers, and HomeNet is going to have one soon too, HomeNet International. And the street vendors you saw in the ASEAN People's Forum are also part of our network, so they're street men. So there is that common concern about falling through the cracks of all the social security and healthcare schemes. So then, what do we do to help each other? So in the Philippine case, for domestic workers, we have a law. But then that law applies only domestically. But our government, because it already we have a national law called Kasambayan, she will talk about it later, that gives us the leverage to pressure government to have clear agreements with host countries, with receiving countries, to have bilateral agreements to protect, let's say, domestic workers in Saudi Arabia, or in the latest was in Kuwait, where there are many domestic workers being raped or murdered there. So our government said no more sending domestic workers to Kuwait, something like that, no? So there is that push. And then one important part of that advocacy is to campaign for the ratification of ILO Convention 89. And that has to be done nationally because that convention will obligate the ratifying government to have a law that fulfills the spirit of ILC 89. That is what happened in the Philippines. There was first the ratification and then a law. So now, if that law is recognized, or if that convention is recognized, there is a law, then it will be easier for domestic workers to claim their rights. But still, we need to go back to basics, which is organizing, awareness raising, because at the end of the day, it will be the voice of the domestic workers that will be heard. Because we cannot, nothing about us without us. That's the slogan. So they have to really strengthen their voices. So maybe you can answer for the things this.
Yeah, just to add, after the domestic ratification in the Philippines, after a year, a law was passed. What we call kasambahay means domestic workers law. And with that, again, the myth of the realization of this law is really organizing. So we have a lot of, we did a lot of organizing, and even you're not domestic workers, many organizations, civil society organization, participate in the realization of this law. So we have that. And even the home workers, we also have to ratify the ILC recommendation 177 on home work. Though in the Philippines it's not yet ratified, but we have what we call Department Order number 5, which the Department of Labor and Employment have this department order protecting of course, the home-based workers, basically on the strands of contracting. But again, there's a law, somehow, there's still you still have to question some, because, example in the Philippines, the domestic worker in the Philippines doesn't want to register because if their employer will be required to register, somehow there are resistance by these employers. So these are gray areas of our domestic law in the Philippines.
are talking about different kind of workers, yeah, home workers, domestic workers. So the home workers, those who really work in the house, whether they sell batik in Indonesia clothes, or as well as we are talking also about motor bike drivers, and they're also informal. So the informal sector in Southeast Asia, as you know, is extremely large. So a lot of people are not covered by insurance. Yes.
1,000.
Good evening, everybody. My name is I come from Vietnam. On behalf of migrant network for action for the migrant worker in Vietnam, we call it MNET. So I just follow up with your question about I want to share Vietnamese case about the advocacy process for as well domestic worker in Vietnam. You know that before 2013, Vietnam domestic workers are not considered as a job, formal job. So before that, my center, I member MH, we call the Research Center for Family, Gender and Community Development. We work with the government and we work with different other civil society in Vietnam to first is raising awareness about the contribution of domestic workers in the economies at the national level. We conduct some research to provide evidence base for government about how much money contributed by domestic workers. And we review the gap of policy of Vietnam to identify how Vietnamese government to follow the international commitment on protecting the rights for domestic workers. By looking like this, we provide some evidence for ministries of labor when they are assigned by government to develop labor law in 2013. And one success for advocacy job is that few articles on domestic workers are included in this law. So that is the very first step to have domestic workers, they can access to the basic benefits, for example, social protection benefits, for example, health insurance and social insurance. But after the law 2018 approved by government, we still have a lot of difficulties because domestic worker, there are some reasons why domestic worker cannot access to the social services. Here we mentioned one about social insurance and health insurance issues. First issue is come from awareness of domestic worker. It's the same with Philippines. Many domestic worker, they reluctant to buy and to request for the social insurance and health insurance because they think they work not long time and they are informal and so they don't need that kind of thing. The thing they request the employer is pay a package of money and they take back home rather than pay a percentage of those money for social services. That is the first reason. The second reason comes from the government sector in terms of policy gap. We have a very clear writing in the policy that domestic workers can have right to access to those benefits, but in practice, in implementation, they don't have some activity like raising awareness, they don't have a lack of accountabilities and transparency in internal policy implementation. So that is the issue. In terms of MNET, we continue to work by first, we organize different dialogues, policy dialogue. We provide them evidence in terms of difficulties and challenges faced by domestic workers in access to social services. And then government listen to us. One very good lesson learned we want to share here that first we need to work as a collective together because few sick member and that working together we talk the same voice with the government. We bring the same evidence to government. So that's the kind of thing we help government to listen to us and we show them very practical evidence that lack of access to service to the social protection services. That is first lesson. Second one, but not least, is that we as one group on behalf for the domestic worker, we continue build capacity for domestic workers themselves to make them strong first by provide legal education section so that they can clear about the policy, clear about the regulation, and they feel more confident. So such kind of thing should be the good approach for Vietnam case. I would like to share with you today. Thank you.
Very, very important suggestions about how to build empowerment of the workers themselves as well as work with the policy. And I think there is the issue of residency also, right? Because they are considered migrants and don't have access to basic service. I think for Vietnam this is a key issue on top of all the other issues. Is any other question? If not, I will have a final question. Then I have a final question. I mean, considering this different situation from different countries, what can be the regional, what is the regional strategy, right? Because we have seen Philippines has their own problem and Vietnam has their own problem, Indonesia, Cambodia, etc. So what is OMNET as a regional body trying to achieve? Is it important to have a regional strategy, or you say it's better to work only at the country level? So I will give a final word. Maybe we start from that and then we go to the regional, yeah? Okay? But you or you, I don't know, who wants that?
Hello. So, in fact, OMNET South Asia had a small meeting 2 days ago to talk about the OMNET strategy. In fact, OMNET is not a member of OMNET. We are collaborating with OMNET because you say too, we have a same program and we can choose sharing experience about to help migrant workers to access the social protection. So I think in the time, so I think in the next time. So I think in the next time, MNet and HomeNet can to collaborate to evidence. Because when we work with government, evidence is very strong to train the government awareness. And we can to use the evidence from Philippines, from the Indonesia and other
To advocate.
Yes, to advocate with Vietnam government. Yes. So we can just say about the lessons learned from the other country in the Asia. So Vietnam and the Asia country, they are the same. They are very same to have a program for migrant workers. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, as to the Philippines, the Homely Philippines has a strong 29 national, regional, provincial, and local organizations. What makes us strong? Because of our collaboration with the informal sector agenda. Not only informal sector agenda, but as well as the women, the environment agenda. So we have a sectoral agenda that we push for advocacy to not just in the government, but among us, civil society organization. And we're strong probably because we really let ourselves to be in the process, even in the local government budgeting process, agenda setting, and really getting in discussing even the crafting of the general rules and regulations of the laws being passed by the government. So again, aside from organizing and aside from capacity building, it is really, really necessary to build a network, to have a collaboration from among another.
So the question is, what you expect from the regional level? Yeah. So what you hope as Indonesia by your participation in this regional network?
Yeah, we would like to give input. For example, we can talk about these issues specifically, domestic workers in region Southeast Asia, in homeland. Doing strategic meeting workshop to develop the common program, so we can strengthen our work in homeland. And second, Indonesia government very concerned if people from foreign country, from Asian countries, raising their voice. Send a statement, send the support for domestic workers protection law that Homeland can deliver to member of parliament, deliver to government, to the Ministry of Power and President Jokowi, also sign the petition. So this will have a big impact in our work as a network in Indonesia.
And final,
The Homeland Southeast Asia is, I think, almost 20 years old, or even more. So we've had a track record of working together. Initially as a network founded by home-based workers and their allies with support from ILO. So we have that kind of history. And that also pushed us to do a lot of work on social protection. Since the early 90s, we met in Mala, and then this round, because Thailand inspired maybe many ASEAN countries to focus on universal healthcare, and that is part of the ASEAN blueprint for social protections. We thought we ought to, it's a low-hanging fruit that we can sort of maybe harvest together if we work together. So one example is this workshop that Homeland Southeast Asia held together with WIGO in Luang Prabang last year, inviting home-based workers, inviting government officials, and etc. I think Olive was there, and also for Homeland Indonesia, to sort of exchange information, advocacy agendas, strategies, etc. And now we are moving towards a more strategic planning exercise so that we can strengthen each other and have knowledge platforms, have learning, exchange visits. No? So this round, we're all here in Asia. So we learn not only about the 5 countries that are now in Homeland, but the general configuration of the context in which we work and how we can network not only with the networks we already work with, but other groups working on human rights, on environment, etc., etc. So it's like a new world opening, and we try to find our place there and working together so we can move forward together.
Let's hope that ASEAN listen to you, right? But I think at least you're making the effort, and for sure, it's unfortunately the Thai example could not be presented here because Thailand can be an inspiration from other countries in this regards because they are covering everyone really. And that is not the case. And if it can be done in Thailand, why cannot be done in the Philippines or Indonesia? Indonesia, they are trying now to increase the fee that you have to pay. But why can be done in Thailand? I mean, Indonesia claims to be very rich these days, so why cannot afford? So these are questions that can be asked by working together. So it's not only the bad example, but we have in the region a very positive example globally of universal health coverage. Yeah? So that is something also to indeed exploit for advocacy purposes.
He wants to say something.
Yeah? Because I was going to close, but
Without permission.
okay, very close, very short.
Yeah, I explained what how much services so far. We usually have a strategy in order to develop this on the country. But to be worldwide and to be stronger, the Malaysian embassy said that to be louder. So I would like to see,
Speak louder.
speak louder. You know, I would like
According to the
just to have-
ambassador from Indonesia.
Oh,
from Malaysia. this
from
morning.
Malaysia.
From Malaysia.
From Malaysia this morning, so I wish we could have just one strategy so that each country, get this 22 legislature and so we could have one voice, strong voice, and louder voice. Thank you.
Okay, I wish you the best. And indeed, I have had the honor to participate in the meeting in Luang Prabang, and I hope to be part of some future OffNet activities. So I hope to see you all. But for today, we close, and you can enjoy coffee and continue to talk about some food and coffee outside. And on your way out, please give a donation because this allows us to continue. Thank you very much, and an applause again to the speakers. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.